with my resident brainiac and co-host Jeff Myers.
I'm blushing.
And before
My
the
goodness.
show, Jeff was helping me with some bullshit that I had on my software, and my studio computer is, what did you say, Jeff? 10 years old, something like that?
Yeah, 2016 is the processor that's in there, so usually everything kind of matches that. So yeah, it has some time on it. Not
But I'm
quite
getting
10.
a little
Too close.
sluggish performance, but I've gotten a lot of good use out of this setup.
I'd say so. Yeah, I mean, you built
And I
it.
think what I'm going to do is I'm going to rearrange my studio here at home when I do the upgrade on the computer, and I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with it, but I'm going to move some screens around and do some different stuff that helps me with my studio.
Yep.
And one of the things that I want to talk about today is our primary purpose of the Marketing Hope Show is to help people build wealth, and one of the ways that we do that is we help them do their small businesses to gain equity to build wealth. And the other way that we do that is we involve people in income producing real estate and provide a knowledge base of doing that. And Jeff, you are in a situation right now personally where you've just made your first investment in the income real estate phase.
I
So
have.
why don't you tell everybody what you're doing and how that's affecting you in your life?
Well, it cascaded from a while ago. These are events leading up to this. Um, Actually, funny story that Mark was influential in one decision that I made. God, over 10 years ago. I was saving up my money for a sports car.
Yes, I remember.
And I had some money ready. I was 21 years old and always had some junker cars and wanted a nice sports car. So I saved up $9,000, which, for a younger kid that didn't really have much money coming in, I mean, that's a lot of money. And I finally get to the point where I'm ready to buy this car. Mark says, "Why don't you buy a house?" And I was just like, "Oh God, here we go. I gotta make an adult decision instead of the fun decision." You remember all this?
As I remember, you bought the car.
Well, in the end, I did, because at that time, you got the homeowner credit that was the same amount basically as the car I wanted. So I bought the house and the car.
Right.
And the first time it snowed, I got rid of that car because it's rear wheel drive, and it went from this to this in about 3 seconds in the first snowstorm. And so look where that would have ended up if I did that alone. So anyway, bought that, went through this process, bought a house, got some equity. I have kind of been rolling that money into different high interest savings accounts over
Talk about that, Jeff. That's something that a lot of people don't realize is out there, and they let their money sit in a regular bank account. And even if it's a small amount of money, tell them what the high interest account means.
So your bank is paying you nothing for interest. I don't know what the current rates are, even 0.15, something like that. Your money just doesn't do anything in that kind of account. So what Mark and I have done is we've always used a online service that it's a bank essentially. And
No, it's totally a bank. It's FDIC insured.
Yep,
Everything's the same as a bank. The only difference in an online savings account is they don't have any branches.
right.
Everything you do is online. So the money that they save and not having employees and branches and that kind of thing
Yep,
ends up giving you higher yield.
yep. So obviously, right now the market is favoring people who have money in the bank. So I think right now my savings account is about 4.5% APY. Um, there are CDs as well, which basically is a term used to say that you're going to lock your money up for a certain amount of time. So, you say,
That's
hey,
called
okay,
a certificate of deposit.
it is,
And they pay a
and
certain amount of money for you to leave your money with them and not play with it.
lock it up. Yep. So your interest rate tends to be better, and obviously in that situation, you're protecting a drop in that interest rate. If it dropped a couple percentages, let's just say, you're locked in at that rate, so you're still going to be getting that higher rate, even though the market has gone down, which actually worked the opposite way for me last time I opened a CD. I opened it up and was like, wow, this is great, 3%, 4%. And so my CD ended up aging with a lower rate than what was available for everyday people to get in a savings account. But
And that's happened
it's what
on
it
a
is.
pretty large percentage, Jeff.
Yeah.
If we're talking about our investors, a lot of people bought bonds thinking
Yes.
that they were locking up a long win. And
Yeah.
as things went up, it was actually they locked themselves in at a lower rate.
Yeah.
And that's why I like the long-term savings account or the high interest savings account, because we can see the 14-month term CD at Marcus is 5.4.
Yeah. Huge.
But if we look at just the online savings account, it's 4.5.
Yeah.
And,
Yep.
and I can take this out whenever I want to.
It's still pretty flexible. I was just going to get to that no penalty mark, and I think that's that's a fun product too, because if you do the CD, you're usually locking in for 12 or 13 months, as you see it there. But that no penalty CD gives you a couple percentage increase. You're 4.7 instead of 4.5, but that's fixed. You only have to keep that money in there for 7 days. So if you have it in there for 7 days, you're good. You're done. Um,
And if you get out early, they keep the 7 days of interest.
you're sure. Yep. Yep. Which if you have it open for a little while, great. Take that. But the no penalty CD just allows you to take it when you want, and if that rate were to go up, you just close it, open a new one. So that's a product that I have I have a little bit of money in right now, is those no penalty CDs, and they're treating me well. But big advantage over a bank. I mean, I don't know what the exact numbers are, Mark. Maybe you know better, but you put
Oh,
10,000.
absolutely. I have people that I talk to that have $100,000 in a regular bank
Yeah,
saving,
right.
and maybe they get a generous 75 cents or whatever a month.
Yeah,
And if you got $100,000 in one of these savings accounts, my people are seeing like
$150.
yeah, enough to pay your cell phone bill.
Huge,
And if
huge.
you walked up to people on the street and said, "Hey, would you like a free cell phone
Yeah, here you go.
account?"
Yeah,
Sure, but they don't realize, and this is part of the classes that we're involved in, that we teach college students, and we teach people that are building their wealth, all the little tricks as you go along that make a big difference, for people. And it's not just the big ones.
Yeah.
It's not, hey, you've got $5,000 on a credit card.
Right.
Those people are charging 29% interest. And there's
not what
nowhere
we're
in
talking
the
about.
market that we can make 29%.
Yeah.
We can't do it.
Right.
So paying somebody that amount of money is crazy. So we always look within to see where our best investments are, because the chances are if somebody's helping us financially, it's at a cost that's higher than we can afford to make. We can't make it.
Totally. Yeah. No, it's, and I didn't mean to cut in there, but that interest is going.
Mike Mitchison.
Did you get that figured out?
Yeah, I'm doing a show with Jeff Myers, the Mark Hope Show podcast.
Yep.
And before we did the show, he went through and found some of our offenders, but it's temporarily fixed.
Oh, okay.
What's up,
But I'm
Mike?
gonna get a new computer and do a fresh load and start off. So,
Yeah.
But I appreciate your attentiveness.
Okay.
But I will call you back when I'm off
Okay.
the podcast. Mike Mitchison.
Mike Mitchison, everybody.
He's actually going to be in charge of one of your projects. That's
yeah, I
pretty
heard
exciting.
about that. I heard about that.
You never finished your story. You got to your sports car and you never finished your story.
Let's see. Got the sports car. Got rid of it after a couple months because it's just not practical in Colorado. And yeah, so we sold our first house that we bought with that little bit of money that we needed to buy that house. We sold that house, made some equity, banked that money, put it in Marcus. Ended up buying a little bit bigger house because we wanted to, live the dream of a big house, right? Not huge, but I mean, 1,800 square foot place. And
that was in Colorado, and that was a pretty aggressively escalating market, and some different things were happening with that.
yeah,
And not to tell your story, but that house had some warts on it, and everybody has that experience, and it's buying up. So when I moved from DC to Colorado, I bought a house in Aurora, but it was a house on the corner of the subdivision.
Yeah.
And that was the wart that was on my house.
Mm-hmm.
There was traffic going by a busy street, and I bought the shittiest house in the nicest neighborhood.
Yeah.
Does that sound like what you did?
I bought one of the shitty houses in a almost essentially shitty area, but it had a lot of warts too.
You bought into Parker. That was a good upcoming area.
You're talking about the second house. I was going to say the first house. Yeah, I mean it's same thing, but yeah, second one, yeah, no basement,
tiny yard.
Tiny yard. It had the furnace in the attic. It was called California style furnace.
Yeah.
So you're roasting in the temperature in the room is awful always. It doesn't go downstairs. So yeah,
right.
No, there certainly were some warts for sure.
But that's an example, Jeff, of we got to get in where we can get in.
Sure.
And when you bought your little house in Aurora, that thing was where you could go.
Yep.
As a matter of fact, let's do a little check. What was the address of that house?
It's one. You ready?
Go ahead.
19762. East Oxford Drive.
Aurora, Colorado. 813.
That's the one.
That takes me back, Jeff.
Yeah.
That takes me back.
Yep.
So Zillow has that little house at 424,000.
Yes, it does. I track it.
You were in that house for 100 something?
155.
Yeah.
155. Given they did a little bit to it, they added a deck on the back, but that's not driving too much. It might not even be in that estimate, but yeah, it just the raw value has gone up significantly.
What a cute little house, though.
Oh, great place to start. I mean, I think we were fortunate to even have that much of a starter house, you know?
Well, I look at some of this stuff and, I've got a house that is kind of a funny value deal. Because if we
Yeah.
look at this house, this is in Aurora, Colorado, which, Jeff, I'm going to let you decide what you want to say about that area.
You know, it's not Parker, right? But I'll tell you, everybody that I know who's successful has started with a house in Aurora. So, you know,
But it has really
it's a hard
gotten to
thing.
be a worse area.
Yeah, I mean, I think since we were there, I think it may be a little bit more so even now, but it's always been, you know, it's had a little bit of that reputation. You bet.
Well, you're being kind. When I lived there, it was freaking war zone, and that
Yeah.
was 25 years ago.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
now it's crazy.
yeah,
But if we look at this house, this is a famous little house. For me, it was my first rental property.
Yeah.
But look at the price on this thing.
yeah. It's amazing.
I don't think that that's right.
Yeah,
But here's what happened. Here is what's happened to the market with these high interest rates. This used to be a $500,000 house.
wow, peaked at that.
And now look at it.
Mm-hmm.
But the issue is that it's still renting,
Right.
and that's a little crazy.
Yeah.
I bought it in 2013 for 117. It went all the way up to 475, and now it's lost, $100,000 in value. And what does that mean to the real estate investor? If they're doing it the correct way, Jeff, it doesn't mean anything.
I wanted to give that answer. I had two answers in my head. One meant nothing, right? Because you're buying it at a price that you know you'll be able to rent it for with that 1% rule. And yeah, that was one of my two answers.
And what was your other answer?
Well, the other answer is, I mean, maybe you have to make a little bit of an adjustment in that rental rate, but you're still ahead because of the same rule.
But the biggest thing that we have to point out is that if you're all cash, you can weather these storms.
Yep.
But, if you're trying to finance or trying to make things happen with just a small amount down, these shifts become catastrophic. And if it goes down too much, you're not going to be able to rent the house for what you need.
Right.
Because if the rates ever break, then people will go out and buy a house for less money than what you need to rent it for.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my philosophy with these rental houses is always going to be be able to rent it for less than a purchase is.
Right.
So it's a good value for good people.
Yep.
And you want to have people that have emerging credit and emerging wealth and that kind of thing to be renting your house and taking care of it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people, especially now, if somebody went and got a loan to buy this house at $375,000, what should they be renting it for?
At 375, it would be 3,700 a month.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's a lot of money, especially in that neighborhood.
Yeah, there's no way that
Mm-mm.
anybody makes sense out of that.
I mean, again, even in Parker, when we look here, I mean, no. I mean, rentals are, like you said.
Well, this is a 900 square foot house.
Yeah.
And it's 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, and realistically, it's a bonus room, so it's a 2x2, and I'm getting pretty good rent at $2,300.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
your last house you rented in Parker, I think it was a bigger apartment,
Right,
than what this is, and you
Yep.
paid 18. Is that correct? And then
Yeah.
it rose up to 2,000.
Yep, and a lot more now. But yeah, it's two over one. Probably like 1,200 square feet, something like that. And it was
But you had a balcony and a swimming pool and all the amenities, so
nice
even
newer community. Yep. But yeah, that's up way more
we're
now.
more focused with people that have a dog, so that kind of equals out.
Sure.
But
yeah, no, it's you have to be in
so
range. I mean,
you bought another house.
Yep.
After you sold the other house,
yeah.
and on that one you went with townhome.
Yeah, so stepping back to the last house real quick, we wanted to kind of have the big house dream, right? Which I'm glad we did it. I mean, I don't have regrets. We wanted to feel what a bigger house felt like, and it was, at least for us, not for us. We a lot more to clean, a lot more to heat, a lot more to cool. We're getting $200 heating and cooling bills, $250. And the maintenance for those, I mean, we could have easily spent $15,000 to $20,000 on a new furnace and new air conditioner, but we decided that none of that was appealing. Plus the cleaning of the place and the HOA. The minute, if anybody's in Stroh Ranch in Parker, I mean, the minute a weed goes like this, there's a letter. Let's not talk about the time that you miss with the family and the kids because you're out picking weeds for 4.5 hours. It wasn't for us. It was not for us. So yeah, we moved.
So you sold that house, and
We did.
then you bought.
Bounced
townhome.
around a couple places for a minute. Yep, just kind of seeing what the market was doing, and yeah,
Well, you were in an apartment for a little while,
couple of
trying
them.
to figure out where the rates are and trying to figure out what
Yeah.
was happening in the market. And let's talk about this for what it is. It's market timing.
Yes.
And I have made a ton of mistakes, Jeff, in my
Yep.
life. And you try to do your best, and the last presidential election before this last one, when Trump was going for his presidency, I thought people were going to lose their minds with Trump winning, which he did.
Right.
And they did lose their minds, but it didn't affect the market. And I took all of my money out of the stock market and put it on the sidelines in cash.
Yep.
Because I thought that, oh my God, these people are going to go crazy.
Yep.
And they didn't. The
Yep.
stock market did nothing but go straight up. And I missed all those opportunities. And I finally got back in and, got in the tail end of things. But,
Yeah.
I should have left my money right where it was and moved on to something else.
Yeah. No, I had a couple of those that I left kind of going, and right now, man, they're really healthy. Couple couple mutual funds and stock market tracking funds, and yeah, they did well. I mean,
Well, what I'm talking about is
COVID was
when
big.
you were in between and we were trying to make
Yeah.
an equity, play and buying at the
Yeah.
bottom of the real estate market, which never came. I mean, it just kept going up. And then you guys
did.
rebought into, a more expensive house. And if
Yeah.
we look back, maybe we should have done that a little bit differently, but you don't know.
You really don't. Yeah. And I mean, so, we got the big house and we were like, well, maybe we should try a tiny house. You remember we went through that phase, Mark.
Yep.
And let's buy a land in a little small place. So we said that's not going to work. Let's try a small apartment. So we moved from an 1,800 square foot house to a 700 square foot apartment with 4 people. That was tiny. It did not work. So then we went to the bigger apartment. That worked really well. But this thing called coronavirus came, and we watched those interest rates drop. And that kind of sparked to us that maybe we should start looking at a place, because even though the prices were going up on the house, the interest rate was going down, which allowed us to have that extra buying power. And we decided to buy a townhouse. Yeah. So we pay a little HOA. It's not significant. They take care of the landscaping, external stuff. Yeah, brand new place.
And so you're into it for how much?
For 20.
And what do you think it's worth now?
Zestimate's 460 to 5, mid 5. But we put a lot of upgrades in.
I believe, and this is just me as somebody that's interested in real estate, I believe that the interest rates are going to drop. And when they do, there's going to be people that are furiously wanting to buy homes.
Right.
And I think your house will be worth a factor more than what the Zillow estimate says.
Yeah.
But I think we're in a situation right now that we have to hold on to these properties and not sell them at the bottom because there's not enough buyers. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. 460 to 515 is current estimate. They're putting it right in the middle, calling it 490. But yeah, it's a hard
that
market.
House that I bought that went up to 475 and down to 375.
Right.
Yet it rents for the same amount of money.
Exactly.
There's something weird. There's something weird that's going on. And that shows the concept of, you want to get 1% on your rental rate,
for sure,
but they grow out of that, so they go way past. So once you get your 1% and it continues to grow, the equity continues to grow, you're never going to get that 1% to live past in an emerging market.
Right.
Because I would have to get $3,700 a month for rent on my place, which I'm not going to do.
Right. Exactly.
I'm going to have to be happy with $2,300 and allow that equity to build.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, you're in your house and you've minimized your debt.
Yep.
And you're not a Ramsey baby, but you are definitely
mild.
What do we call it? Dave-ish?
Yeah. I mean, 3/4, right? He has some off the wall stuff, that I didn't follow, but yeah, 3/4.
Well, he wants you to pay off your house.
Right.
Before you get into investing. And obviously you and I disagree with that.
We do.
You've got a sub 3% mortgage loan.
I do.
And those guys are talking about, you just feel different. Yeah. Well, you know what you feel? You feel like you better not quit your job.
Yeah.
You better not quit your job because you are absolutely, he says the borrower is slave to the lender, but if you empty out all your resources and pay off all your debt, the employee is slave to the employer.
That's right.
And that's a pretty ugly place to be.
Yeah, it is.
You're debt free, but if you don't go to work, your whole train comes off the tracks.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you
Yep.
dumped all your money into a 401k that you can't access until you're 59 years old.
Right.
We are more interested in building wealth in different areas. And
Yeah.
that brings us to, you just bought a house.
Yep.
Let's talk about that.
We did. Yep. That was the beginning of that. So yeah, this money's kind of piling up, as I said, and I have it in the high interest accounts, which is definitely helping. Low risk, or low risk, low reward. They're not as high as if I would have tossed the stuff in the stock market in a mutual fund. But I also can sleep at night knowing, hey, this money that we worked really hard to, pile up is still there. So throw it into Marcus, have it kind of build some value, and I think Ash and I kind of decided at one point in time that, it's time to get going on some real estate. So we make the decision to plunge in with Mark and one of his investors, and kind of learn the ropes on this thing, and go from there. Nice little house.
This is a lot like your little Aurora house.
Yeah, a lot of similarities.
2-car detached garage.
Yeah.
But the trick is buying correctly.
Right.
So if we're all cash in our little investor group, right? We don't pay retail.
We have leverage. We can leverage that lower price. You bet.
So this estimate on this house is $92,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
We paid less than that.
We did.
And we're actually going through reno right now. And this house will be on the market and rented in the next month. And that will be your first paid off house that you've ever had.
Yeah.
You own a third of a house, and you owned several properties before, but they were never paid off.
Right.
And the significance of that is really what I'm aspiring people to look into, is get your real estate paid off. Even if it's a fraction of a little bitty house in Oklahoma, then we set that aside, and you're with some more seasoned investors that are helping you understand what's going on and leading, through all the different processes. We have a general contractor that oversees a lot of the work that's going on in the house. We have several real estate people that are involved in things and making sure that we've got that stuff going correctly. And we have several insurance people that are helping us make sure that we, take care of that. We've got a team of legal people that are helping us organize LLCs and different things to protect the investment group. And, hopefully, right? Hopefully, we will be running this little business inside of the rental house, and it'll be depositing those rents into the corporation to form a prudent reserve. And then the investors can decide if they want to do another property. So, Jeff, for you, if you say, hey, look, I want to do another property, will you guys join in with me so that you have to save up a third of the price?
Yeah.
And it's not easy.
Yep.
But if you have to save up 100% of the price of the house, then what's the realistic timeline on that?
Yeah, it's a lot harder to attain for sure. And now you're talking about leveraging debt against different assets that give you that money, and how does that work? And is that a good idea? I mean, we don't like those things. Plus, the thing that I love about this, I mean, 1/3 is, you know, I'd love to be 100%. I would. Um, Not in the cards for me. But the other thing that I get out of this 1/3 is I get to see what you guys are, how you're doing it, and there's some learning behind that. I mean, I guarantee people can't just walk in and start renting a place and know what they're doing. I mean, you didn't do that. You had to figure out the market and how this works. And
And I made all kinds of mistakes,
yeah, you did.
but
I
I also
know.
made all kinds of contacts in the community
Yeah.
wherever
Yeah.
I am, and
Right.
there's the power in relationships and community. I have a show that got postponed with a lady that runs a cleaning business, and she's got a lot of similar attitudes as I have
Yeah.
for community and helping each other and hiring the right people and making sure that they want to work and all that kind of stuff. But she's had a problem with her dog that we're going to have to postpone that show, but that'll be a very interesting show coming up. And I also plug another show that I have with Karen. She is a realtor in Florida and Colorado, but she specializes in self-directed IRAs, meaning that people can take some of their IRA money, put it in a trust, and they can buy and sell real estate and manage it through that trust with their 401k, which is pretty exciting. A lot of people don't think they have money to invest. And if you take it out, then you have to pay a penalty and some different things. So that'll be a very interesting show.
Yeah,
and
it will.
It's not for everybody. And I don't recommend that people, wholesale get away from the stock market, because I love the diversity that's happening in the stock market. But I limit that to the tax sheltered accounts that we have, that we really kind of have to have. And then we don't invest in the stock market with after tax dollars. Right, Jeff?
Right.
Because there's enough exposure to the market with our pre-tax protected dollars.
Right.
And the real estate is a very good way to be looking for other avenues.
Yep.
And, we can play it out with our audience. Since you're my co-host on the Mark Hope Show, you're actually walking the walk.
Yep.
So we'll be able to show people the houses that we buy, what we pay for them, what income they create, and what equity they build. And some of the houses, we get into them so cheap, by the time we button them up and fix a couple of things, we end up gaining, 10, 20, 30% in actual equity after the construction guys go in there, fix it all up, and it's worth more money.
Yeah.
Far more money than we have to put into it.
Yep.
Which is fun. We love that.
Yeah. And not to mention, you're making some neighborly connections, and, you a couple of people looking over the things, since you're putting a little bit of time and money into making it look nicer. I think ours might have a little bit of that going on, where, the fence is down in places and it may not look nice. And, now you're showing them that you care too, which, is nice.
Well, and on this particular house, it's small town America play, where there isn't a lot of interest right now.
Yeah.
But there's a big oil refinery going on in Cushing. And one of the things that happened with this little house, when I advertised it, I got 200 people that wanted to live there. And over half of those people were from Tulsa. And it's a half an hour drive away. But Tulsa has gotten to be big town enough that people are looking at some of these smaller towns to save some cash.
Save a couple bucks. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
And
great.
I think that is a small indicator, but I think once we start buying these houses, fix them up, small town Oklahoma,
Yeah,
we advertise them to Denver.
right.
How many people are going to be moving from
Yeah,
Denver to these smaller towns, especially if they're remote working?
yeah,
You know, there's a lot of people that are working remote right now, and if they move to a place like this little house for $695 a month,
yeah.
their wife can quit their job
That's a huge raise. Yeah, you're getting a
because they
raise
can
just
get
in
a
the
couple of
cost of
kids,
living.
have the wife take care of the child care, and,
Yeah,
and the husband is working remote or vice versa.
yeah,
It all works, but
it
it doesn't
does.
work in Denver because childcare is $3,000 a month and
Yeah,
rent is $2,200 a month, and
yeah.
now it doesn't work.
No, no. Don't forget to mention the cost of utilities, groceries. Yeah,
Well,
it's all more.
that's everywhere.
Yeah,
You know, we're not going to really save significantly on the groceries if we go to a different location.
yeah,
But I was watching a TikTok that was saying, you know, if you have $1 million, how long can you live in retirement in different states?
right.
And Massachusetts was like 12 years.
Wow,
Oklahoma was 22 years.
nice.
So, you know, what
Wow.
are you interested in financially? And really on this show, Jeff, we only talk about the financial implications of what we're doing geographically. However,
Yeah,
there are some feelings that people have about the big blue states and the small red states and where they want to keep their family. And I'm not going to get into that very much,
yeah.
but there are differences.
You bet.
And I can tell you we have a lot less people camping out here than in Chicago.
Yeah, yeah,
And whatever reason that is, it's, you know, you got to choose what kind of lifestyle you want to have.
yeah.
And it's very interesting.
It
But
is.
Luann and I are in Oklahoma, and we really enjoy the slower paced lifestyle. And I
Yeah,
know we're kind of older, but I'd really be interested in seeing your growth as you start investing into, you know, what we're doing over here, because really the American homeownership dream is dying.
yeah,
And Jeff, I know you have contemporaries that you work with. They're never going to be able to do that. If they don't leave
yeah,
Denver, they absolutely won't be able to A, buy a home to live in, or B, have an investment home that's giving them more income.
yeah. And there's contagion around the debt too. I mean, I talk to people all the time that um, see me with a 2017 model car or truck that um, you know looks nice, is modern, has a lot of modern features, and I talk to them about you know what it is and how much I paid for it and how it's paid off, and that's strange in today's world. It's not the common thing. Um, these are the same people who are talking about their lease, and how they're, in a couple of years, they're going to be giving their vehicle back and getting another lease, and you know, they're never going to have a paid off vehicle. And again, that's kind of there's a little bit of Ramsey in there that you pay off that stuff, and I did that. I snowballed it, and I paid off that truck in 10 months, and it's great. I love it. But could I have a better one? Yes. Does it have 90,000 miles? Yes. Um, but right now it works for me, and I don't need
You have
anything different.
90,000 miles on?
I do. Yep, I do.
Well, and that's just a strategy of, how you're utilizing your dough. And
Yeah.
a lot of millionaires drive cars that you don't expect.
I had that experience with a good friend of ours that one day I was like, wow, David Freed. Cadillac,
What was the wow there?
Cadillac, 175,000 miles, daily driver.
Yeah.
I was
Well,
really?
he's a kind of a hybrid type guy,
Yeah.
because he had, probably 10, 15 million
Yeah.
net worth.
Right.
And he had a Bentley and a 94 Jeep, so he
Yeah.
was walking both sides of that thing. And what
Yeah.
a wonderful guy he was. And
Great guy.
I am a little bit more David Friedish than I am some of the other millionaire types,
Sure.
because I enjoy having a nice car. However,
Yeah.
I buy it a little bit differently so that I can make it make sense. And a lot of the millionaires are driving Honda Accords, and they're out there with the Ford Edge or whatever. They don't care.
Yeah.
And they're too busy building their wealth. I am just a little shitty kid from Denver who grew up without any money. And,
Makes
I
two of
was
us.
not the rich kid, so I like to have some nicer cars. But my methodology to do it is, my last car is a 2016 Cadillac Escalade, and it was the nice one. It was the Platinum Edition. The sticker on the window was $104,000 when the guy bought it, and I bought it from CarMax with 36,000 miles on it for $55,000.
Woo. Wow.
So the guy that bought it first, the rich guy,
Yeah.
took a $50,000 haircut on it.
Wow.
And I got it with 36,000 miles, freshly detailed. It was new to me, and I paid 55,000, and I currently have 84,000 miles on it now. So for my $50,000, I've driven it 50,000 miles.
Yeah.
That guy drove it for 36,000 miles
Right.
and paid 50,000.
Took $50,000 shave. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
and so did I. I'm into the car for 50,000. So is he. But the difference is, I've driven it 50,000 miles. He only got to drive it 36,000 miles. I still got the car.
Yeah.
I spent $50,000 on it, and I still got the car, which I could
Yeah.
sell for $28,000.
Right. Right.
And the longer I drive it now, the more mileage I get for my 50,000. He doesn't
Yeah.
get that. He gets to have 36,000 3 years. That's it, whatever it is. And, he's already into a new car. And some people, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They have the money and they want to waste it on a new car. God love them.
Yeah. For sure.
Because I certainly don't need to have a Cadillac Escalade. I just want it.
Yeah.
But my methodology of buying that car works better for me than the alternative.
Yeah. Well, we used to have a running joke in the office that it seemed like every oil change that we went to when we took these used vehicles in was always $500, because we let them do the maintenance that they ask us to do in advance of things failing.
That's a great point, Jeff.
And I had a fun experience, just kind of a wild hair. I wanted to see what my vehicle was worth, so I took it to CarMax, a year ago or something,
Sure.
just to see what they're doing. And they said that my truck was one of the nicest trucks that they have seen because of the way that I maintain it. And I spend a little bit more when I take it in for maintenance, but man, I mean, if a place like that and an ASE certified technician is telling me, wow, this is nice, you've really maintained this well,
and that's
that means something.
Change the oil every 3,000 miles.
Yeah.
And if they tell you need something done, do it.
An $80, yeah,
Do it.
change of the fluid. Stop
Do it.
being cheap. Yeah.
If they say flush the transmission, do it.
Yeah.
You know, and keep your vehicle running so that you can have, you know, a long time with it. Buy something nice and drive the wheels off of it.
Yep.
And by the time, remember, we used to call my Suburban the Classic
The classic.
because it was a 2002 and I drove it well beyond its sexy time.
Yeah,
But,
you had
you know,
it over
good things to
200,
it.
right?
I appreciated what it was. I put a screen in it, you know,
Yeah.
when people didn't have that. And, you know, if I like it, then that's good for me.
Yep. Yep.
All right, buddy. Well, listen, we are approaching the top of the hour, and I want to end with this one thing. If anybody wants to come on the show and talk about their financial situation or talk to Jeff about what he's doing with his young family and building wealth, just go on the Mark Hope Show page on Facebook, go on the website, Marketing Hope, and we're revamping some things because Facebook is Facebook. And I got put off Facebook for about 3 days because of something I texted in a messenger that they wouldn't tell me what it was. So be careful about putting all of your contacts in social medias that can just take them away from you. And Jeff and I are going to be working on CRM and how to put your customers in a database, use them effectively outside of social media to make sure that you're staying in contact with your customers. And we're going to walk through that journey with you guys. And there's a couple of other programs that we'll be utilizing that are going to give you guys some power in running your businesses and, you know, some of your task-oriented things. Jeff, you're going to see an invitation for a thing that's coming, you know, vis-a-vis the Pine House.
Got it.
That is pretty cool. And I think you've been invited to that already.
I'm already in. Yeah. The little task management tool.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so we'll be testing all those on the show. We'll be showing you guys what's going on. We'll have some special editions of the Mark Hope Show in the Discord. So please look for an invitation. If you want one, reach out to us to be in the Discord for the show, that we get a little bit deeper dive into some of these management tools for your business and your marketing team. So stay in touch, and we'll be covering a lot of really cool topics. And I thought we were going to have Grant come in and do a little sesh with us.
You know, he is not feeling well this week, so I think we got bagged that for next week. Yeah, we had a little.
What was he going to tell us about?
A little 1 a.m. exorcism from him last night, running into the bathroom. So that ended up becoming 4 a.m. You know, cleanup and
no.
Yeah, so maybe next week. I don't know what he was going to teach us about, but I will get him
we're
on
gonna
board.
Have a little session with Grant, and I look forward
next week.
to that.
I do too. Yeah, that'll be fun. He can teach us about Pokemon, probably.
That's exactly what it was. Yeah, and I like that.
Yep.
I will collect some Pokemon cards with him.
Here we go. Yep.
All right, everybody. Right. We love you, and thanks for tuning in. If anybody got any value out of this, you know, stay in touch with us and reach out and ask for some personal questions if you want. Until next week, I'm on with Jeff Myers and the Marketing Hope Show.
See ya.
Jeff Myers, everybody.